A series of mid-20th century amendments made further revisions to the presidential election system. The 22nd Amendment formally limited the president to 2 terms in office. The 23rd Amendment granted the District of Columbia a number of electoral college votes equal to the number of votes of the state with the least electoral votes. Finally, the 24th Amendment of 1964 abolished the poll tax, which had long been used to deter African Americans and poor whites in the South from participating in elections. The 22nd Amendment is interesting in part because it was proposed by a Republican Congress to prevent a repetition of another multi-term Democratic presidency, as had been the case with FDR. Interestingly, however, the first president that the amendment applied to was Republican Dwight D. Eisenhower. Eisenhower had no intention of serving more than 2 terms, but he disagreed with the amendment, as he believed it made a president an automatic lame duck once they won their second term, without the ability to at least hypothetically win another one in the future. How long can a person serve as president today? Prior to 1951, as we know, there was no constitutional limit at all on the amount of time that a person could serve as president. Franklin Roosevelt served just over 12 years, March 4th, 1933 to April 12th, 1945, dying just over 1 month into his 4th term. Per the 22nd Amendment, the longest that any individual can serve as president is 10 years. This is only possible if a vice president assumes the presidency from their predecessor from the middle of a term onwards. So let me give you a concrete example. John F. Kennedy became president on January 20th, 1961, and served until his assassination on November 22nd, 1963. Lyndon Johnson assumed the presidency in the second half of Kennedy's 1961 to 1965 term, serving the final year and 2 months of the term. Johnson was elected to his own term in November 1964 and served from January 1965 to January 1969. Even though Johnson had served part of Kennedy's term and his own 4-year term, Johnson was still eligible to run in 1968, though he chose not to, largely for reasons relating to the Vietnam War. If Johnson had run and won, he would have been president from November 22nd, 1963 to January 20th, 1973. However, if Kennedy had died, say, 1 year into his term, Johnson would have served the majority of that term, served his own term from 1965 to 1969, and then have been constitutionally prohibited from being elected president again.